right, good afternoon. Welcome back to an HPM Talks. I'm Ryan Austin, Chief Operating Officer of HPM, joined today by Mr. Nick Sellers, CEO of the World Games. So a little bit of a different topic for us. We hadn't done an international sporting event before, but if you'll notice behind me, we're not in our conference room. We are here in Birmingham, Alabama at our historic Sloss Furnace, and we'll talk about why we're here. But Nick, welcome.
Thanks,
World
Ryan.
Games, exciting. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about it and what it is?
It is exciting. It's going to be the largest international sporting event in the history of the state of Alabama and the second largest in the Southeast since the 1996 Olympics. So I get people that ask me all the time about the World Games, and they heard a little bit about it and they're excited that something's coming big, and usually their next question is, now what are the World Games?
Yeah, you're right.
In short, we define them as the new generation of international sports. Because quite simply, it's fully organized and supported by the International Olympic Committee. In fact, Thomas Bach, who's the president of the International Olympic Committee, will be here in Birmingham for opening ceremonies. It was established 40 years ago, so it's celebrating its 40th anniversary. It's 11th edition. The first time they had the World Games was in Santa Clara, California in 1981. It's been all over the world. Cali, Colombia, London, Paris, Wrocław, Poland. It leaves here and it goes to a small little town called Chengdu, China, of about 16 million people. So it's a big deal, but in short, it is the sports competitions that either are on the Olympic platform but as invitational sports,
Okay.
or ultimately will be full-time Olympic sports. So it's really the emerging sports around the world. And
Right.
most of the sports, Ryan, are sports that we've all heard about. Just some are kind of the new, emerging kind of next-gen sports.
Sure. So talk about the fact that it being in Birmingham, Alabama is such a huge deal, and how did we get the games here?
Yeah, it is a huge deal, man. It really, from an economic development standpoint, and we'll talk about that, but just to have this major international sporting event in the state of Alabama, and at a time, frankly, where, gosh, the world is clamoring to reconnect. I mean, we just heard that the Tokyo Olympics is going to be very, very limited in terms of their fan base. No international fans.
Right.
Very limited for Japanese nationals even that can attend the Olympics. And some of the sports, in fact, 6 to 7 of the sports that are competing in Tokyo with virtually no fans, those same athletes, international athletes, will be competing right here in Birmingham, Alabama in July of 2022
Right.
with full venues again. And so the significance is huge. We competed against a lot of different countries to win the World Games bid many years ago now, 5, 6 years ago. It came down to Peru, Russia, and the United States, Birmingham, USA. And the reason that we won, candidly, is because they were looking to get back in the United States, and once they saw what we had to offer in this community and in this state, I think the World Games Association saw we had a very competitive bid and a lot of beautiful new venues now that we can showcase, and that's how we won.
Sure. Well, it was supposed to be in 2021, right? Had to get pushed back because of COVID. The
Yeah.
Olympics got pushed back a year, which really was sort of a blessing in terms of your planning and also in terms of the venues.
Gosh, it was, man. There's a lot of silver linings. It wasn't without, as you know, being on our board, some gnashing of teeth on, are we even going to have the World Games anymore? But thankfully, we put a really good plan together to move it a year. And probably one of the biggest silver linings is we weren't going to have Protective Stadium. We weren't going to have Legacy Arena, 2 beautiful new jewels in our community. I mean, the Legacy Arena was here, but nowhere near what it's going to be
Right.
after this total renovation that is happening there in this new stadium that y'all know so much about, obviously, is quarterbacking the programming of that entire thing and what that's going to mean for our city and for our state and for the whole Southeast. But we're able to showcase that. So opening and closing ceremonies now will be in Protective Stadium. And Ryan, there's going to be some of the biggest names in the music industry, many of whom have ties to Alabama, that will perform. I think it's going to be like a Super Bowl halftime show on global television. It's going to knock people's socks off.
Yeah, well, that's exciting. So let's talk about Sloss.
Yeah.
We're here at a historic landmark here in Birmingham, not something you would particularly associate with sports. So talk about some of the unique venues we're going to be using for the World Games.
Yeah, and this is certainly one of them, maybe one of the most unique venues we have. So we're principally in 10 different venue clusters around the community. We go as far south as this beautiful Oak Mountain State Park, where there will be water ski, jumping, and wakeboarding championships, the global championships. We'll go as far east of town to the Birmingham Crossplex, which has got a natatorium, a world-renowned indoor track, and there will be inline roller competition that will be outside, along with many fascinating events inside, including wheelchair rugby, which if folks haven't had a chance to Google the Netflix series on wheelchair rugby, I think it's called Murder Ball, they ought to check it out. It's fast. These are unbelievable athletes. And the World Games 2022 will be the first major international sporting event in the world with competitions for athletes with and without disabilities on the official program. The Paralympics and the Olympics are coming together, but not before World Games 2022. So that's over there. We go as far east in town as the International Barber Motorsports Park, which is a beautiful facility, y'all. It's really a gem for Honda IndyCar races. But it also is going to feature, as you know, because y'all are helping us program it, and we want to talk about that, I know, but some really cool sports. Drone racing. Yeah, I had to Google drone racing.
Sure.
It's a thing.
Sure.
It's a real thing.
Yep.
It's growing all over the world.
My kids are excited about drone racing.
And so they're going to do that with these LED lights that they'll move in and around. I think it's going to be a ton of fun. And then canopy piloting, which is where these athletes are jumping out of helicopters. They pop a chute about 1,000 feet before the ground. They'll have to drag a foot across a water runway that y'all are helping us construct and program manage. And then they got to land at a precision point with really fast-paced, high energy, a lot of music. It's going to be fun. Back to this beautiful gem that you asked about, Sloss Furnaces. We're going to turn this old pretty lady into a really cool sport competition. Beach handball. We'll build a beach handball court here.
Yep.
We're also going to build a parkour obstacle course where these athletes, these stunt athletes, are jumping around cars and jumping off of the sides of buildings, and it's going to be really, really wild to watch. And so those are two of the competitions that are going to be here, and I think this is going to sell really fast.
Sure. Well, it's a great venue here in Birmingham. I mean, concerts and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, part of the challenge we encountered when we got to be a partner with you was, you know, we're used to the ground up construction management, right? And we have a long time to plan and budget and schedule and really lay it all out so that when we put a shovel in the ground, we're ready. But your challenge is a little bit different in the fact that a lot of these venues are still working venues, but they're not sports facilities.
Right.
And so what we learned was we got about a 14-day window where we need to mobilize, we need to construct a beach volleyball court that's got to be world class, and then have competition for 3 or 4 days, and then get it all back down and get these venues back online. So that's a unique challenge.
And this is just one of them, but we've got, gosh, at least a dozen of those types of challenges in and around the metropolitan area. And when we saw that, frankly, as an organizing committee, we realized we didn't have that expertise in-house to figure that out. So I knew of everything that y'all have done all over the country, but in particular around the Southeast and right here in Birmingham. And we came and sat down with you and said, look, this is an important component, the whole program management part, which we know very little about and our folks know very little about, but there's so many detailed scheduling components that we have to have done. Can you help us? And y'all did, and I still don't fully understand all the program management stuff that you do. I just know we couldn't do it without you. So can you talk a little bit about what all that you're doing for us?
Sure. I mean, it's been great to get to know your team, and really that is our model, right? We come alongside, work with the owner, and develop a plan to figure out, you know, what are their needs and what do we need to be able to help to accomplish that. But with the venues here, it really is all about the schedule, right? I mean, we talked about the two big venues with Protective and Legacy Arena, and we're involved in those, and those have been underway for a couple years. We got a little more time, but yeah, these are unique in the fact that we really have to show up and erect it, play, and demobilize in such a short time frame. So it's not different than our model. We love getting to know our clients and helping them execute their dreams and passions, but we love all of our clients, but the fact that this is in Birmingham and you guys are local and it really is a big deal for the community for us has been pretty special.
Yeah, well, it was a huge need for us, and so to have y'all do it means a lot because your expertise is all over the country, you know, and to have it here is a really big deal. We're going to use this as an economic development tool as well, you know, I mean, and obviously with all the relationships that y'all have with international clients has been a huge help to us. But when you've got 3,600 world-class athletes from all over the world, over 100 countries that are competing in these 34 different sport competitions, you don't do it just to have a really cool sports party. Not to say we're not going to have a really cool sports party, because we are, but you do it to try to elevate the image of your state and your country. I mean, right now, This is a great opportunity to reconnect humanity, and that's what we see the World Games doing. But leverage it to show the rest of the world why they want to bring their jobs here. And so we're working with our state commerce department. Y'all have been a tremendous help there. We're working with our local economic developers to try to make sure we know the targeted countries where we're going after these OEMs, these original equipment manufacturers, and these tier 1 and tier 2 suppliers, and use this as an opportunity to entertain them, to bring them to town to see something historic. We say this is once in a lifetime,
Right.
because it truly is, to witness history. But also to take it as an opportunity to show them around the area more, and hopefully to tie new job investment to the World Games.
Yeah, well, it's a big deal because when you normally have a sporting event, you go to one place
Yeah.
and you have one venue,
Right.
and then you see what's around the venue. But I mean, as you said, we're all over the city. I mean, we're
Yeah.
probably covering 20 or 30 miles in terms of just being able to get to see Birmingham. So it's a cool event in the fact that everybody's actually going to get to see and kind of experience Birmingham as a city.
They really will. It's 10 days. You know, the opening ceremonies is on the 7th. We're obligated contractually to compose a unique theme song for the World Games. So think, you know, sort of whenever you've taken your kids or grandkids to Disney World, the minute you hear that song, man, it's just a good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we wanted to create something really special for the moment too. So thanks to a world-renowned country music icon that lives up on the mountain in Fort Payne, Alabama, Randy Owen from the iconic country band Alabama. He could live in the biggest mansion in Nashville, but he chooses to live right here in this state. He is helping to co-write with a world-renowned composer named Dr. Henry Panion, who's composed everybody from Carrie Underwood to Stevie Wonder, and he lives right here in Birmingham, this theme song, and it's gonna have musical acts, including Chuck Lavelle from the Rolling Stones, a keyboardist who's from here, is laying down the keyboard tracks. So many great vocal acts from Alabama will sing on this song. We'll release it publicly. We think it's gonna be a big commercial success. I'm thinking kind of this We Are the World moment, you know, for this next generation, which is what we need. But that's part of the legacy gift of what we're doing with these games. It will live on long after July of 2022.
Yeah, well, we're excited to be a part of it. I got to ask, out of all those unique sports, is there one you're like, man, I can't wait to go see that?
Yeah, you know, man, I struggle, to be honest with you, Ryan, because there's a lot of cool sports. From the gymnastics disciplines that everybody wants to see, dance sport, which is a big, I mean, that is such a huge sport, especially around the United States, thanks to Dancing with the Stars, and So You Think You Can Dance. You got, you know, Latin, salsa, we have break dancing, which is gonna be a ton of fun to watch, rock and roll. You got sports that everybody knows and loves, like bowling. We're gonna construct an 8-lane bowling alley there at the convention complex for these games. And billiards, women's softball, the same U.S. team that competes in Tokyo with no fans, who has a young lady from Alabama, the first native Alabamian in history to compete on the U.S. team, Haley McClenny. She's a 4-time All-American from Alabama. That same team will compete here. So you got all those cool sports. Then you got these edgy kind of next-gen sports like drone racing we talked about and canopy piloting. To me, though, I really want to see some of the old traditional competitions that everybody wants to see. We've got kickboxing and Muay Thai and karate, but I really want to see men's and women's sumo. Men's and women's sumo are going to compete here in Birmingham for a gold medal on global television, and these athletes are incredible. I just think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it is. Definitely a unique experience because we don't get to see a lot of these sports here in the South,
You really
or
don't.
even in our nation a lot.
Well, and lacrosse is another one. I meant to mention that. Gosh, it's one of the fastest growing spectator sports in the United States.
Sure.
Around the world, the Iroquois Nation, who is ranked 3rd in the world, they actually founded the game of lacrosse. They call it a medicine sport, a gift from God. And they're ranked 3rd. They weren't going to get to compete in the World Games because they weren't recognized as a sovereign nation under the rules of the International Olympic Committee.
Right.
We worked jointly with them and World Lacrosse and the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee to petition, and essentially the World Games Association and the Olympic Committee gave them a refugee exemption. But here's what's really cool. They had already seeded the top 8 teams and the Iroquois Nation was not in it. The men's Irish lacrosse team voluntarily withdrew from the World Games so that the Iroquois Nation could take their rightful place as one of the top 8 teams in the world. The Irish lacrosse team won a Stan Musial Award on CBS last Christmas. It's gonna be a big deal. We're gonna celebrate that sportsmanship here. It's just another cool storyline around these games. Can I talk to you real quick about the honorary co-chairs?
Please.
Because I just think that that's such a cool deal. We wanted to find Alabamians that just represent everything great about our state. and have them lead the delegation of 3,600 athletes into opening ceremonies on global TV from that brand new, beautiful, protective stadium. And so the first week out was Charles Barkley, who needs no introduction. I mean, the guy's, you know, just such a legend, not just for basketball, but as a personality. And Charles Barkley said absolutely, he's an Olympic gold medalist too, so he said absolutely he's happy to do it. Randy Owen was the second, we already mentioned him, from the band Alabama. The third we just announced is Vanetta Flowers. Vanetta is the first African-American in history to win a gold medal at the Winter Olympics, and she's from right here in Birmingham, Alabama. She was an All-American at UAB, and just a fantastic human being, really just a wonderful ambassador for our state. The fourth is Kat Reddick. Kat Reddick Whitehall, a U.S. Olympic women's team in soccer, an unbelievable athlete, an even better person. She'll be our fourth. And then the fifth is an American military hero named Noah Galloway. Noah's an Iraqi veteran, a double amputee, who frankly, he'll tell the story, was, you know, wanting to just give up his life coming home. He went to the Lakeshore Foundation, which is a world-renowned jewel. It's a U.S. OPC training facility, but it's also a rehabilitation facility here in Birmingham, and they saved his life mentally, physically, spiritually. He was on Dancing with the Stars. My wife says he's a really good-looking guy. I'm told he's a good-looking guy, but he's also going to be one of our honorary co-chairs, and he is such a champion for the state of Alabama and for these games. They will lead the delegation of athletes into opening ceremonies. I think it's going to be a beautiful moment for our state and for our country as we really try to bring the world back together in this moment.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt. People are ready to get back together. We're starting to see some sporting events have some crowds with Major League Baseball and golf. But yeah, to host the first international sporting event is going to be a big deal. We're excited to be a part of it. Really appreciate your time telling us a little bit about it today, and we're looking forward to helping make it successful.
We couldn't do it without y'all, not just HPM and all the employees that make up your incredible company, but you in particular as a board member. I appreciate very much your leadership on the World Games 2022 Organizing Committee. It's going to be an historic moment. Tickets go on sale July the 7th, our global ticket launch. So I hope everybody will go to twg2022.com and check it out and get tickets to this historic moment, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and all that stuff, Twitter too.
Yeah, you got some great videos on the website.
Thanks very much.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir.